not even a question of where on the political spectrum, right to left, we're talking about. It's getting the ship of state steadied again on its voyage, that the whole world is on with us. Whoever takes the lead on that is going to be the hero of a generation. And we want it to be you, Senator Portman. Of course not you alone. I mean that completely sincerely. Well, I think we all do. You're not alone. Senator McCain, Governor K67, you know the list far better than we do. You don't have to be out there alone. You are in a position to take the lead on this and to become the hero of our generation. We want Ohio to be proud to know that that leadership came from here, that it was you and our senator. And I know I am not the only Democrat who would be pleased and delighted and proud to vote for a Republican senator who took the lead on that. You know everyone is waiting for the moderate Republican leadership to step forward. And I know you know the timing better than we can know. But we're watching and we're waiting for that because we need you to be our hero. One of the issues that is on everyone's mind here is the absolute necessity of an independent investigation into the many issues involving Russia that I don't need to detail them for you, but you know they come under the rubric of election interference, which is of a concern no matter what. No one's trying to undo the election. Even those of us who are very unhappy with the results would be even more unhappy with destroying our system of reliable election results. Right. We're not trying to undo any election, and I would be the first to fight against that. But I think even those who are pleased with the result of the election are very concerned about undue interference and whether or not it made a difference in the outcome of the election results, because it won't make a difference no matter what in the result of the election. I think we all want to know what happened. Similarly, the president's business dealings involving Russia, whether or not they have any legal effect and import, whether or not the conflict of interest laws specifically apply to the presidency, it's still a small COI, conflict of interest, that is of great interest to the public because it undermines our confidence in our government, whether or not it's actionable or whether or not action would be advisable, even if it is legally actionable. We're also very concerned about issues of immigration and refugees, about health care, but I'm going to shut up now and let others in the room speak on some of those topics. Thank you so much for your time today, and we do look forward to a true open town hall because this is wonderful for this little group that could take off time today. And telephone town halls are a start, but they're not the same. You know they're not, and they're not enough. We like you. You know, you're going to get a happy reception.
We've been doing them for 6 years, and,
yeah.
and you know, you can talk to thousands of people, and I get a lot of tough questions. And we also do a poll. You know, whatever the hot issue is today. I ask about this issue, some I ask about the opioid issue. I ask about in the last two. One was in Central Ohio, admittedly a more conservative part of Central Ohio because it was Bob Buse's district. We do them by district just because that's a way to organize it. We do every district. We do Marshall Fudge's district as well as his district. We just go around the state. And then the other one I did was in Eastern Ohio, Southeastern Ohio, nominally Democrat, but conservative, probably in terms of Trump. And, so anyway, I will continue to do that and to listen. And do you want me to respond to some of yours quickly? Or do you want
Please,
to
we would love to know where
just
you
quickly
stand
on,
on
you said, you know, everybody's waiting for me to, you know, you said restore common sense, whatever. As I said earlier, Ohio's a big state, you know, lots of different points of view on that. So at the Lincoln Day dinner the other night, what I heard was, you know, why are you opposing Trump on his immigration, on his travel ban? Why are you opposing Trump on the Russian issue? Because, you know, I did call for an independent investigation right
For
away.
an independent investigation?
Yes.
Investigation,
Glad to hear it.
and on meddling as well as, you know, I think only McCain and I issued a statement immediately when a senior member of the administration said they might reduce or eliminate the sanctions on Russia in exchange for other cooperation.
Senator, is that still your
Immediately said-
position, that you support an independent investigation?
Well, I support the Intelligence Committee's believe.
You no longer support an independent?
No, I think that is, I mean, that's what I mean by independent, because it's bipartisan. They're able to get confidential, classified information that you and I can't get, and I think they're sincere. Mark Warner is the ranking member, Richard Burr is the chairman. I've talked to both of them, and I've suggested that this should be a broad investigation rather than just the initial one, which was going to be, more on just the meddling issue in our elections, which I think is incredibly important to investigate, but also I think it should be broader as other issues have come up, including the issues surrounding the more recent stories about the FBI saying that there was connection between General Flynn and the Russians before they took office.
As well as others. But are you saying then that you oppose an outside independent investigation?
Select a commission.
Yeah, I think it's better to do it in the intelligence committees. I really do, because they're going to have the ability to get information that is and should be classified, and it's bipartisan. And in the past, that committee has come up with bipartisan reports. As you know, they under Senator Feinstein, they had a reputation of doing that, and now under Mark Warner and Richard Burr, I know they're committed to do that.
And what is your position on the involvement of Jeff Sessions,
Yeah.
the Attorney General, in the investigation and possible follow-up?
Do you mean in terms of whether?
Should it come to that point, would you require it to be going through General Sessions' office, or would you support an independent prosecutor?
I don't know. We'd have to see how it comes out. There is no, I wish there were an independent prosecutor law still in place. There's not, which is.
I wonder who could do something about it.
Senator, do you
I
support?
have supported having an independent prosecutor, authorization. That was taken away by Democrats and Republicans alike, and certainly the Obama administration wasn't interested in pursuing it, because I do think that's appropriate on occasions when there is an issue where there's too strong a link between an administration and the Justice Department, in both parties. I felt that in the last administration too.
We have to throw to Cleveland soon, so we have a couple more minutes.
But to your point on, everyone's waiting, I mean, people have different points of view on this. Some people think I have been too independent, I guess you would say, and I'm going to continue to be independent. I mean, that's my role. And so I'll look at the facts and try to balance them and figure what's best for Ohio. That's what I've done consistently.
Senator Portman, is it a matter of concern for you that the president hasn't released his tax returns?
Well, that's a decision that he needs to make now. I mean, it's past the campaign, and
It's not a matter of concern for you, though? I mean, prior presidents have for a long time.
yeah.
And it allows the public to see where his conflicts may lie.
Business conflicts. I think our biggest concern is that we want to be sure that you're someone who supports transparency, and if this investigation is going to happen, that it's going to go where the evidence leads. We've got, obviously in the last 6 or 8 years, a pretty good track record in the Republican House of investigating everything to death and going where the evidence leads. And we'd like to be sure that you're someone who supports taking a similar approach with this investigation that we're talking about here, that it's not going to be an open shut thing. Do you support that kind of a thorough investigation into this issue?
I mean, absolutely. And one of the challenges is going to be how do you communicate it to the American people without using classified information. And I think that's going to be necessary. In other words, not just getting to the bottom of it, but not just keeping, that information private. It's got to be something that is explained to the American people. And again, talking to Burr and to Warner, I think that's exactly what they're committed to do. So they need to have the ability to look at information that is classified. It has to do with our intelligence services and information that they have gleaned using sources and methods that they're not allowed to talk about. I understand that. We want to have that. But at the end of the day, the report has to be something where they reach conclusions that all Americans can understand and potentially lead to changes as well.
Because I think that's what Susan's point was. This isn't for us. I mean, we're patriots. We're concerned citizens. We don't want
that end, do you feel that the president should should release his tax returns, and would you urge him to do so?
I would leave that up to them.
Can we circle back to your thoughts on a town hall? You've been talking about the telecalls, and there's maybe 20 people in this room who missed work and with their families to be here, and it was the way we were able to gain access to you. But I know so many people want to be heard. They want you to know how they feel about the Affordable Care Act. They want you to hear how they feel about immigration. And this dialogue, I think you'll agree, is constructive and helpful. Would you please commit this morning to your constituents that you will explore a town hall that allows access to all of us?
Look, I will continue to do what I have done for the past 6 years.
But we're
and that's-
telling you it doesn't really work for us.
Well,
We want you
it
in a
does
room
because your
but
point
look
of
how
view,
great
your
this
point of view is being expressed, and
It
not
doesn't
just
feel like
today.
it. It doesn't feel like it. This feels
Right.
like we're listening. So
This-
could you
this is good.
consider it?
This is good,
Can
but
I ask, I'm in District 12, are
Mhm.
you? So T-Berry is my congressman.
Mhm.
Is that how you're organized? You said by districts, is that the districts that you're talking about?
for the town halls.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
congressional
yeah,
districts?
Sometimes we combine two
So I mean,
congressional
I'm like
districts,
a
but
Clintonville resident, and I'm pretty liberal. So if you have a town hall for District 12, my concerns are gonna be outnumbered. But I think for people who live in this area, my concerns are the concerns of everyone around me.
I think that the most important thing is that there's a significant, we wouldn't be here today if there wasn't a significant feeling that our views and voices were not being heard.
The climate
And I
has
understand that
changed.
the last 6 years, that there's a process and it's been in place all that time that maybe has worked, but obviously things have changed dramatically in the last 6 weeks. And I think it's time maybe for a new approach, because as I was discussing with some of your staff who've been wonderful about it,
No, yeah.
our concern is that we want American democracy to function, and we want to make sure that we can find a way to live in this country together in these interesting times. And we think that things like in-person town halls would be effective ways of bringing Americans back together again and ensuring that we don't fall further apart. So I would ask you, sincerely and respectfully, to consider whether you might also agree that things have changed drastically in the last 2 months, and that something like a town hall, even if you haven't done it in the last 6 years, it might be time to try that out.
I have done town halls in the last 6 years, and again,
Were they a bad experience for you?
well, I should be recording you, because I'd love to play back your words from a moment ago, how.
Well, I'm on tape.
Yeah.
But, what I want is the most constructive interaction with my constituents, and, so this meeting is great. Yeah, I have meetings every single day, as I said, I'll be.
But Senator Portman, we have, several of us have emailed your office, called,
And
no,
I get your
please.
emails every single day. I get a report
Do you
every
know
day,
they take
how many
my-
emails, what they're about.
They take my email address all the time, and I have never received any word back from your office. That's
I find
beside,
that hard to believe.
well, I
I find that hard to
haven't.
believe.
I haven't.
What's your response to that, Terry?
I haven't.
That's
What's your
bes-
response? I haven't
either.
We've talked about that earlier when I met with you, and some of it is the processing of
Right.
all of those.
I know other
You
people-
will hear back.
I
You will
know
hear
other
back.
people
I mean,
have heard, but I'm
Not
just
just because you raised
saying,
it today, but everybody will hear back, but we only have so many people.
I'm just saying my personal, I'm just saying, we
Yeah.
have
we
requested
get
through
back to-
every avenue.
Every Ohioan who contacts us, we get back to them.
Well, Senator, so you just said it yourself, you only have so many people,
Right.
which is why a town hall is necessary. Because there are so many more people that need to see you listening to them.
Well, as far as
You're
the-
not gonna get a hard time like some of your colleagues have. This is
As far
Ohio.
as the teletown hall is concerned, for regular people to be aware of the teletown halls and when they are happening and how to register for them, is that information provided through your newsletter?
We just,
or-
we call randomly, I don't know, 100,000 people, 200,000 people.
Correct.
And anybody that wants to get on gets on.
So it's a
But I-
random
Isn't
phone
that-
call?
But I've also asked, that's why we gathered all of your email addresses earlier and your
Great.
names, and you're providing those to us. And so we're going to work to try to get some of those into the system so that you
And we'll
will be
let you guys
included.
know.
So the teletown halls are always random phone calls, like you just randomly dial out 100,000 numbers?
Well, I don't do it.
Well, I mean,
We
yes,
have
through
service,
the
you know, we
service,
use the
through-
private service, and they call as many people as they possibly can, however many phone numbers.
Within the district
But
that
if
you're
you
calling.
publicize the town
Yeah.
hall, it's everyone, not just the people that got randomly done.
Right.
Those of us who are most concerned can
Senator,
be prioritized, make our time available to
Yes,
you.
or who can make time for the telephone.
Senator, we understand
A
that
lot of
you
people are
have,
concerned, I would tell you guys, as I said earlier.
Yes,
on
that
the
there are
exec
two
office,
Oh, we understand on both sides, but
It's an interesting time in the
sorry,
country, but
We only have
but not everybody feels the same way.
This
Everybody
is a
has very
nonpartisan
different-
issue.
Good stand up.
I'm sorry, the Russia issue is very important to me. It's a nonpartisan issue. I am flabbergasted that there are people who are saying that they don't care about the suspicion that Russia is involved somehow in our government in a hostile and improper way. I have 3 relatives and more who are veterans. My father served in Korea. He got the Silver Star. My husband was active duty during the 1980s. My brother was on a nuclear submarine. We fought in the Cold War. Why did we fight the Cold War? I feel like their service is now being mocked with this situation. How can people say that they are not concerned about Russia being involved in our government? I don't want to be hostile with Russia, but they're being hostile with us. What is going on?
You sound like me.
Senator, could you,
So, one thing I'd love to share with you is my legislation on disinformation, because I got it passed last year, and it goes well beyond just the allegations that we've heard so far. It goes to this broader issue of what Russia is doing to our government, to other governments, and not just Russia. It's a broad bill. It sets up at the State Department, for the first time ever, a global engagement center to deal with disinformation, propaganda. It does mention Russia, it does mention China, and it's not just about our democracy, by the way. They're doing this in many democracies, trying to undermine them. I think it's an incredibly serious issue, so much so that I, along with Chris Murphy, was a senator, a Democrat senator from Connecticut, who wrote this legislation over a period of time, got a lot of experts in, and I think there's $160 million authorized for it, to work with NGOs, to work with the media, to work with others, to try to find out what's going on and to counter some of this, because it is deeper than just the very troubling reports that we've heard. It is, I couldn't agree with you more, and, I'm the lead on it. I mean, it's my bill. And so these are issues where I have had some differences of opinion with the general approach of the administration. I will say, with regard to sanctions, they were put in place because Russia has committed human rights violations. That's the Magnitsky sanctions. Those are congressional sanctions, because Russia took territory from another country. They illegally annexed Crimea the first time since World War II, back when your father and your family were, fighting the Cold War. None of this happened, and so it's worse now in a sense. And frankly, nobody stood up. I mean, we said some things, but we didn't gather the NATO countries and say, how can this be happening? And now on the eastern border of Ukraine, I don't know if there's anybody here who has family in Eastern Europe, but I'll be meeting with the Eastern European community in Cleveland tomorrow, and I'll get an earful. And it'll be people like you who have family members who are directly affected by what's going on there. And it's not just Ukraine, it's Latvia and other Baltic countries, it's Romania, it's Georgia. There's like this campaign of disinformation, and it's not all kinetic like military. Well, France, UK, Germany. But I've been over to Ukraine twice because of this interest in Ohio among the Eastern European Ukrainian community, and I've seen it firsthand, and it is
Wonderful.
It's frightening. So I want to send you that, and what you think of it.
What's the name of the legislation?
It's called
you give us your
Disinformation and Propaganda, Countering Disinformation and Propaganda, and the center is called the Global Engagement Center.
Senator, you said twice that there's a big difference of opinion, and there are people who feel the opposite from us. One issue that I think that there would probably be very little disagreement, there's always a fringe, but one thing that I think most people would agree on is the president's comments the other day that the press is the enemy of the people.
Yes.
I would like to hear my senators stand up and say, no, it's not.
Totally.
A free press is essential to a democracy.
I already said
And-
that. I did. I
Well, say
Because
it
I got
louder.
asked about it right away.
I just chose that as the first example that popped into my mind, that of course, there's going to be a few people that won't agree with you there, but it seems to me that if you've got safe ground, that would be one example. And there are a lot of others, and you know them better than we do. So I appreciate what you're saying, that you need to represent everyone, and there's differences of opinion on many issues. But there are many others where there really is a broad consensus of opinion, whether it's on something narrow like that, or whether it's on the general concern that the ship of state is foundering, not to the left or the right, but down into the underwater.
And I think this speaks to a concern we have, that we need some reassurance that there is a line that can be crossed.
And I apologize, speaking of Cleveland, we gotta get you on the
But
right.
if you could respond to that
Yeah,
comment.
yeah.
So we can hear.
Poor guy.
I totally agree, and by the way, I think I've had, I don't know, how many press avails this week, or press conferences, probably 4 or 5, and I'll have 2 more today and more tomorrow, so I mean, trust me, I walk down the halls, some of my colleagues won't talk to the press, they're probably smarter than me. I always talk to them, I mean, like every day when I'm in Washington, they can ask me whatever they want, and I talk to them, and sometimes it's frustrating, because sometimes, they're looking for a gotcha story rather than a substance story. Like, to get the press to cover what I just did here next door is very hard. But it's, even though this is a crisis here in Columbus and in our state, and to their credit, one TV camera showed up today to cover it, but I think they all should have been here. But if there's some controversy or some gotcha thing, they're happy to cover it. So I'm trying to get the press to focus more on substance and policy and issues, as you're raising here today.
But they can't if they're being delegitimized by our press.
Well, I
Specifically
totally agree.
talking
No,
about
a free
the
press
role of the press.
totally is essential to a democracy. I mean, and I don't expect them to like me or to support what I'm doing, but I do expect them to cover policy.
And I think what's important to us is, I mean, we think that's a great step, and we applaud your willingness to talk to the press and your belief in that. I think what some of us are looking for is, I think Susan led off with, and then we probably should let you get out of here, is we're looking for some people that can see a statement like that is so weird and so un-American, and stand up and say, no, that's actually wrong. I don't care if you're the president.
Because
That's
people
wrong. I think
believe
this
it.
is
People
because
are
we need to know that
realistic.
there's
there's
someone
time when I do
in a
that,
position of
I-
power that will do that, because we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it yet.
I believe you're the only
this is a time
Ohio
when-
elected official that does a weekly state press
Oh, yeah, I
conference.
also
State
do.
media too.
But
I
the
also do
point
a
is
weekly
the
call
credibility
that's open to
of the
anybody.
role of the press.
Senator,
Not his
I
own.
understand that
It's a different
you're
thing.
focused on policy and on addressing people's problems, and we totally agree that that's an important thing. I think a thrust of a lot of the comments here today about Russia and about the statements about the press
Yeah.
are attacks on liberal democracy, on the foundations of our liberal democracy. So while we understand that policy issues can't be left aside, I think what we're asking you in the broadest sense today is that we need people, and we need people really like you. I mean, not just because you're our senator, but because you've demonstrated that you're an independent voice, and we thank you for those statements and legislation that you've called out today. We need you to be out there and visible and supporting those, and we need you to be communicating what you're doing about those back to us, because many of us are very, very concerned about the state of our democracy,
And these
regardless of
cannot be
partisan.
issues. These are not
Regardless of
issues.
partisan.
They're not. We're a bipartisan group here today.
It's possible to
Does that
have a
make sense?
town hall that we're not gonna yell
I
and
know
scream
there's.
at.
Yes, I don't know. I didn't call
Senator
everybody, but I
Portman,
know we have both of them.
Thank you all
It's
so much.
possible to have a town hall where people listen to each other. It really is. And I think Ohio and you could set an example for the rest of the country that this kind of dialogue is constructive. I mean that with all my heart and soul. Be the one who shows everyone how to do it. And we will be the ones who can sit with you. We'll make some progress. And gosh knows we need it right now, right?
I mean, again, I meet with constituents constantly. I had a town hall at the Whirlpool factory.
So agree
2 days
right
ago.
now for these videos that you will have a town
Great
hall.
discussion. But,
Can you please
I've
commit to
seen-
considering it?
Well,
A
look,
town hall with people
Again, I
there.
wish I could play back your words earlier.
You can.
Because I totally agree with you, but that's not what's happening with these town halls around the country. Not what you
But
said.
no,
Right,
we'll
offered to your
change
staff
that.
We'll
that
make
we
sure
work
that
together
it
about this
happens
group.
at your town hall,
Yeah,
Senator.
let's agree today to try and
Well,
change that. I
There are
agree.
25 human beings in this room who've managed to make it work. We can work
let's do
together
it.
to make something and make it work.
Let's do it
This
right here
group
in
will commit to that.
Columbus. Come on, agree to consider it.
You can at least
What a
consider it.
service you would be doing. The answer is not to throw out town halls. The answer is to get them right.
Yes.
And we're here to help you get them
It's
right.
the first step. Will
And
you agree
you-
to consider it?
You will be the
There-
leader
there
in that.
There are lots of ways to communicate. I want to use constructive ways, and it's not that your voices aren't being heard. Trust me, your voices are very much heard, as are others.
We do
And we
need to
love
feel
that you
and
came
believe
out
that
to
they
talk
are.
to us.
And you will get a response, not because it's you, but because
Okay.
we respond to everybody. and
Well,
I'm
I
proud
mean,
of
we've
the
all
team, but
responded
I
to
haven't,
town
but
we
hall,
don't
you know,
have
we've
gotten a response.
requested and.
I call 3-4 times a
Last
week.
ask,
I
will you
leave my email
consider it?
address. I have not.
But thank you, I appreciate that, Senator Portman.
I do look forward to the response.
Thank you
I
so
look
much for
forward-
your time.
It's just, it's taking time.
She's like, we're
Yeah,
busy.
We have to let him go.
It's like
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, Senator
Thank you,
Portman.
I'll see you next week for James Street.
Oh, good, yeah.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, staff. Sorry you're late.
And she said really quick, so really quick it is. One more?
What's your name?
Todd Decker.
So I took calls yesterday, I was in the Cincinnati office for a while, and I said, just send the calls to me. They just called in, I said, I'm Rob, you're not really Rob Portman.
Somebody has to.
And almost every call was like, I just want to express my view. And I said, well, trust me, I get a report every day. It's not that I can't talk to 11.5 million people every day, but I can have a system in place to hear what you're concerned about.
I think what you'd hear,
Just so you know, I'm doing that.
we get that you have a different perspective on it. I think what the town halls would give you is maybe a better sense, even than these two, of the intensity and passion of the concern that is out there. People are terrified and very alarmed by the direction this country is going in.
I hear it, and I also have, neighbors.
Yeah.
Are you?
Who, talk to me about it, and at the grocery store, at the gas station.
I wish.
Senator,
Both sides too. I mean, I'm also hearing people mad that.
Sure.
Are you frightened by the direction right now?
I'm concerned
It's not an excuse, it's just.
by some aspects of it. I'm also hopeful in some things. I think on the economy, there's some opportunity here, particularly with tax reform. I'm gonna have a meeting on tax reform today, in Cleveland with a bunch of small business people and talk about how they could hire more people if they had a more sensible tax system. We've lost 2 Cleveland companies overseas recently that are no longer headquartered there. They took jobs and people with them because of our tax code. I mean, it's only for that reason. So that's an opportunity that I want to keep connection with them to make happen.
I'm sorry.
Sorry to be behind the camera.
No, yeah. That's what I want to do.
We don't remember.
Senator, if we send you the video.
cards and share them, make sure he sees it. I hope it was
We actually would that help you know that we're peaceful and not threatening?
Just help me by saying that, and I know you would be peaceful.
We hear that you're going to continue to mainly focus on the teletown halls. The problem, with doing it randomly is, we're thrown into here without advanced preparation.
I'm going to continue doing everything.
If we had known we would have time to talk with you, I would have come with, knowing more about the issues and preparing with them. There's this asymmetry because you deal with these all day. We're just regular people, reading the news. So if we knew it, like if we get a call from Senator Portman, we're not prepared to talk about the issues in that we can express our opinion, but we can't have a really constructive dialogue unless we're able to research and compare. So thank you very much for your time.
You bet. Good to see you guys, sir. All right.
Thank you.
Terry, I'm gonna hit you the video. We have a live feed to figure out. I did have
Take care, guys.
town hall
Thank you.
without
Thank you,
Senator.
Senator.
Anybody-
Thank you.
I know.